All right.
There we go.
Okay, good morning, everybody. I wanted to do a quick screen share so you know where some information, our tools are. I've started the migration from our WordPress site to Sitecore, and if you've tried to use that WordPress site pretty much on any given day, you're running the risk of it not working for you, and there's prolonged periods as time has gone on as far as getting that back to life. So without further ado, let me share my screen here. I've pasted the URL in the chat dialog so it's there, but if you go to our main page, right here on the left-hand menu, you'll see 4-H Online, and Help for Staff is all of the tip sheets. If you need to submit a problem ticket, you can do that right away. That comes into the queue. I know Carrie set you guys up with your own Zendesk, but if you're looking at this, I've broken down everything into broader categories. And so if you just click the little plus sign on the right-hand side, it'll take you into different elements. But one of the things we are talking about today is linking projects to the club, and that is covered in the instructional manual. I think it's on page 4, something like that. But if you're needing tip sheets, have questions on any of the things that we're covering today, I pretty much have a tip sheet for it. It's out there. The page is live, and if there's information missing or if you have questions, please don't hesitate to fire me off an email. But wanted to talk a little bit today about projects and then linking projects to clubs. So when we have member records in 4-H Online, that creates an enrollment record. That creates a mark in your ES-237, if you will, for your traditional club participants. So when you have members in the system, there's a couple different things that impact that ES-237. Of course, it's the enrollment, and then it's also participation. So part of that equation is the projects, and at the state level, we have entered in a list of projects. Now the catch-22 to bridge that gap from the member enrollment record to what we have, what I would call a project record, is we need to have those projects linked to the clubs. We don't want to create separate group enrollments for these because those metrics are measured a little differently. We have our clubs. Those are kind of the repository. That's where they engage in community service for the youth. And then you have projects that are linked to that club. Now, some projects are, could be countywide, which is fine, but every individual, and regardless of what project they're involved in, it kind of has its own little placeholder. And so all of those numbers get crunched in the ES-237. Where it gets problematic and where we can run into issues as far as not having as good of a data set on that is having things not captured. So by not having members A, linked to a club, and B, linked to a project, that does mess up our data set. If we have there are ways to kind of duplicate the member enrollment, and I'm not trying to make a worst case scenario, but there are ways to impact the data. So we just want to make sure we kind of have our bases covered. So Carrie's going to work through all of the club charters. So you should have your list of active clubs. Your projects, this list, like I said again, at the state level, these projects will populate already, but these are already entered in the system. Now, if there's projects that are not on this list that you offer at a club level or at your community, you can enter those in as a project alias, but you don't have to recreate this list of projects is what I'm trying to spit out there. So let me show you kind of the steps to link a project to a club. Once you do this, this will carry forward. So then it's a matter of, you know, just if there's changes to the project, or, you know, if at some point that project is no longer offered at the state level, then, you know, that will go away. You won't be able to link that anymore. But as new curriculum or new projects come around, whatever's added to the state level list will need to be linked. And that's kind of a checks and balances piece that you want to do in October as enrollments open. Just, you know, that process of linking projects to clubs before the enrollments open to the greater good. To link your projects to your clubs, we're going to be on the enrollment tab, and we want to go to options. And so underneath the dashboard, there'll be a little gray line, and the linking of the projects to clubs, when you initially click on it, nothing will show up. From the drop-down menu, you'll see a list here of all of your community clubs. Now, your clubs are the general club name. This isn't creating a club for each project, so there is a difference in that. The club is the bigger unit, and then your projects are the smaller units. All the projects are already in the system. It's just a matter of, you know, kind of connecting the dots here, if you will, as far as what projects are offered in that particular club. If the Carson Bouncing Bunnies is more of a project-specific club, that's fine. My assumption on this is that this is going to be strictly a rabbit club. Sometimes you'll have clubs that offer everything. You know, that list ultimately is going to depend on the volunteers affiliated with that club. That means that if you do have those projects being led in those clubs, then there should be corresponding leaders, you know, the appropriate affiliation, whether they're project leader, resource leader. Those leaders should be identified. They should be enrolled in that project as well. So to link your projects to your clubs, you know, we're in Bouncing Bunnies, and I don't know if that's the right example, but it's plausible that that club would offer rabbit breeding, and market rabbit. And if those are the only projects that are offered in that club, then that's, you know, that's an easy piece. We just hit the update button, and then we go on down the list. For you know, maybe target rippers, maybe those are clubs that are shooting sports, but you go through your list of clubs, make sure all of your chartered 4-H clubs are in there. You know, another checks and balance is making sure that the kids that are showing up in that club are appropriate, you know, that's the correct list. And then also making sure that the volunteers are in there as well. And then just going through, like I said, going through your project or your club list and linking those projects to the clubs. Let me go to let me go to a have to move. I'm so used to working with 2 screens. We'll hop into here. Okay, so again, options, link projects to clubs. We select the club name, Austin 4-H Club. And then it's a matter of going, okay, I know that this project offers Sorry, this is not. All right, so no projects listed in here, but you can see, you know, this is a very long list. Again, this is all your projects that are into the system from the state level. Your projects are, or what constitutes a project is content area A, curriculum that matches that. Part of my responsibility in Idaho is curriculum. So what we refer to it as is something that's research-based, also covers the experiential learning elements, inquiry. So there's a tangible component, and that usually culminates with a year-end public exhibit in a so it's not necessarily fair-driven, but the vast majority of public exhibits in Idaho are fair. But you have that project completion, if you will. We do require a record book. So, and then with all of our 4-H projects, we require oral presentation with that, and then X amount of activities that they do, and then again that culminates with that public experience. So things that wouldn't necessarily constitute a project would be, you know, something that shouldn't be on this list would be like your showmanship, that type of thing, and that's definitely not something that you would want to list in your project aliases either. It's more on the content, you know, kind of a book base, if you will. There's a project manual, if you will, to go with that. It's not a showing experience. Those would be something that you would capture, like if you're doing a day camp on showmanship, for an example, that would be something you would capture on your ES 237. But it's really important that you link with your clubs what projects are being led in there. And again, once you set that, you hit the update button. It is something that will stay for each of your clubs, and that will persist over the rollover. So, you know, it's as that club changes, if they offer more, offer less, that's not a problem. Just need to make sure that that's updated. And so what that will equate to when it comes time for roll-in or login, the members will identify, okay, I'm a part of this club. That list will, instead of populating with all of these options, you've identified, okay, these projects are offered in this club, so this is what's pretty much available to participate in with that club. We do have members where they satellite into different clubs, and if you do have that in your community, then you need to make sure you identify, okay, which is the child's primary club, and so that would be their main organizational club. And then if they satellite to a different club, okay, then we need to make that connection to the member record, that they're in that club, and then we get them into the correct projects. And you know, it's plausible that every club will have a little bit different project list, and that's okay. You know, not everything is offered in every club. So you will see some variance in that, but that's definitely one of those housekeeping components that you want to do, particularly with enrollments coming in. And like I said, once you do this, then it's in the system, and it doesn't go anywhere. It will carry through for rollover. And then the only thing you really have to do once you roll over is just make sure if there is new projects offered, then those are linked. But that helps save some time for sure once that's all done. So any questions on that? Was there anything I was missing on that topic, Carrie?
Sorry, my phone was muted. Nope. Does anybody else have any questions? Oh, there is one from Sharon. How do you change the delivery mode for a club? Okay. So I have some that are listed wrong, but I have attempted to go back and change the delivery mode and it doesn't work.
Okay.
That's actually a very good question, Sharon, because we have a lot of that.
All right. So in theory, we go into the club icon. Oh, knock off my headset here. Oh, I don't want to log in. I want it to edit. You should be able to. Oh, I see what you're saying. So for what constitutes in the club icon, and it might be something where once the club is active, you may not be able to. Why is that doing that? Oh, I really miss my split screen on days like today. Okay. So maybe once it's active, you might not be able to change the delivery mode. You might have to deactivate that one, and if it's wrong, then, oh, what happens when we deactivate it? I'm afraid to deactivate something. I can't. I'm trying to think, Carrie, how to do this with I don't think it'll allow me to deactivate something where if there's members in it.
Oh.
Well, and I only get a save option too. I don't get a. I don't know. How come I don't have a deactivate button? Are you managing all the clubs there at the state level, Carrie?
I can log into them. I was just trying to see if we could do it in the demo county, but it's not letting me.
Okay. I'm just gonna hop over. I'm gonna hop over to our demo county and let me see if I can.
Yeah, when I go in, so Sharon, I just tried and yeah, I used to be able to change the delivery mode. And I just went over to your county, Sharon, and it's not letting me change the delivery mode either. So I don't know why that is. That might be, I'm going to make a running list of questions.
Well, and there's something there, Carrie. I'm thinking, and that's why I'm kind of looking at this. It might be something that's set up on the admin level because they're not getting that. See, I'm not seeing the archive. They only get the option to save. So there might be something that's I'm going to do, let me see if I can archive. Okay, so once the club is activated, you cannot change the delivery mode. There isn't a way to edit that. Let me see. Let me check. Let me see if that's something, though, that can be done at the state level.
I'm not able to do it right now.
All right. I'm checking on my side here, Carrie, to see if that's
okay. So, because I know that we do have quite a few counties that that do, you know, that it might have been one way at one point, but we wanna fix them, and so yeah, it would be nice to be able to get some of those.
we get the option to delete clubs at the state level, but as far as changing the delivery mode on an active club, it does not look like that's something that we can do. So, you know, I guess, Carrie, if on those instances where we have oh my gosh, in those instances where we have clubs where we need to change the delivery mode, we just need to let us know then we set up a new club, make sure we have the correct delivery mode, and then delete the duplicate. That is an option that we have at the state. You know, we could do that at the state level, and I can do a little research to see if there's a way to do that at the admin level, but I'm not seeing that. So that's kind of messy. It'll be a little cumbersome. And then I will also look on the settings as far as the clubs, as far as why the counties aren't getting that option on the archive. But given that that's all getting, you know, you're kind of going through house cleaning there on your clubs anyways, you might want to just kind of do it that way.
So yeah. So Sharon, I made that note. I'm gonna see if there's, we're gonna kind of look at that and see.
Okay, then the next component, oh, my computer is driving me nuts today. Okay, and the next component I have is on your group enrollment. On the staff help sheets page, there is a log, or if you go on the reporting section, I have posted the group enrollment paper copy, if you will, on the sign-in sheet. One of the things, and kind of my soapbox, just because I had to do some more data mining, and it takes a lot of time. Given that this system can be reported into now versus some systems where you can't get into it, you know, starting until October or whatever the case may be, since the system is open, can be accessed as you go through your programming for the summer. Report those numbers, capture those numbers, start getting into the habit of maintaining a paper copy or getting, you know, all this content that we kind of need. And then as you do your programs, report them. Don't hold on to that. Get it in the system. As things have moved forward with the legislatures across the nation, we're under increasing scrutiny for our numbers, A. Numbers equates to funding, B. And then also civil rights reviews, they look at that where are we meeting our audiences, be it at-risk populations, underserved audiences, and the only way we can actually do that is proof in the pudding with our group enrollments and actually reporting those numbers. We can say that we do that. Oh, go ahead, Carrie.
Well, I was just going to say, and these guys have all heard me say this more and more lately, because number one, we have bills in the legislature right now that I'm having to mine data for. And two, our civil rights review, we had to mine a lot of data for that. And, you know, three, we're having to show those numbers to more and more stakeholders. So they've heard this, and so that's why we're trying to get things cleaned up now, which is why I'm having you go over these things.
No, and it's not to sound like a broken record or to make more work. It's, you know, honestly, this will help make your job easier, just staying on top of it and having it organized. It does take time initially to get all of those proverbial ducks to line up, but once you have that and create that process for yourself, you can get that ball rolling. You know, as far as that whole data management process, you want to log into this system at least daily. There's a lot of correspondence that comes out. There's a lot of opportunities. And if you're only approving members once a week or logging in once a week, there's a lot of pieces that can be missed. We want to try to keep that window of communication open as possible, but you know, that's part of that equation. And so getting in the habit as you do your programs, just put them in the system. That, and when it comes time to the end of our 4-H year, we're ready to rock and roll. But the group enrollment form, you can search this section all years. It doesn't really have an archival, if you will, but you can filter it down by programming year. To add a group enrollment, you just need to be logged into your county. For Carrie and I, we actually have to log into a county. We don't get the group enrollment icon at the state level, which I've asked about, but there's ways we have to work around that. But so to add the group enrollment, you just click Add Group Enrollment. It is a 3-step process, and the paperwork that I've created, and I think I've shared that with Carrie, and she's customized it for y'all. It really captures what we have. And if you have to report to different systems, capture what we ask. That's kind of what I would equate as the more end, because particularly if you have new participants in the program, those numbers are what we have to capture in this group enrollment. That includes your racial demographics, your ethnicity demographics, you know, where their residency is. Those are components that may not always be reported to different systems, but we have to have that. So that's why there's a sign-in sheet with that packet. It's a good way to try to capture that information, and if you have questions, you can always call that family. But your fields that are in bold here, on the left-hand side, those are all required pieces. And so, you know, what you use as the program name and the description is for you. If you're doing programs with youth that are FNEP related or even with military families, there are specific areas for that. And those numbers funnel into a different element ultimately in the ES 237 as well. Here again, we make a project connection that populates with your state list. I think project aliases populate to there as well. Select the content that is covered. And then, you know, if you're, I'm going to try to get through this without having to completely do all of the X, Y's, and Z's. There are going to be times where you do programs and it's possible that you're going to have 100% participation with 4-H participants, and maybe you don't have new participants in there. I get this question, do I need to still report it? Well, yes, because it's showing those contact records, it's showing that you're doing those programs. But as far as filling out this member distribution component, so you're going to capture a total head count, and what's considered a duplicate are your current 4-H population, be it clover buds, be it junior, intermediate, senior, whatever. If they have a record in the system already, then they're considered a duplicate. But we're still capturing those numbers in the overall total. Then we filter out what are duplicates, and then this number here is what you have to capture and match on this section on the racial distribution, your residence distribution, and your grade. So, those the group enrollment packet is in a Word document, and I've posted that way. So if you need to customize that or make that work for you, I ask that you don't take away the elements that are in there, but if there's pieces that you need to add in the sign-in sheet, to make that work better for you, by all means, have at it. But once we've identified our population that are not duplicates, then we make sure that number matches as we go through, like I said, capture racial distribution, residence, grade. Then this last section on the group enrollment is on new volunteers. And no. Hit that wrong way. On your volunteer distribution, and this is for new volunteers only, be it adult volunteers or youth volunteers. So then, again, we capture our racial distributions, the adult classification, direct volunteer versus indirect, and then training. And then once you've got all of your components entered, check the little box, submit form, and then click save. Even if the form has been submitted in the same data set year, which, same 4-H year, you can go back in and edit or update. If there's something that you've missed, you can change that. And, it's not a big deal, but, it does take time. And so if you wait and hold all of your forms for all the programs you've done throughout the whole entire summer or over the course of the 4-H year, October is going to be a really busy month for y'all. So my best advice, particularly with the system, and you can report into it anytime, is just report and get the information in there, and don't wait on entering in the content. You can pull an ES 237 at any time, and like I said, you can look just off of the general search area here in your group enrollments. These are components that you can look at this information and you can kind of see where you're at and what you've captured and what you haven't. So it makes it pretty easy to reference and refer to. So that information is there at your fingertips. Any questions on that? Any other questions?
Did you see the question from Louisa? It was on how do we deactivate a 4-H club, and I couldn't figure out how to do it.
Let me check the admin settings, because that's I don't know why that's not showing up for y'all. So let me see what we've got. I'm going to check the admin level options. Well, Carrie, something you may want to talk to James about, and I think, I think the reason why, let me double check it. I think I might have discovered why you guys don't have the deactivate option.
And thank you, Sam, for that comment about doing the group enrollments monthly. I know when I was at the county and even at the state level, when I was a specialist, I did try to do that about once a month, and it does make it much, much, much easier to do that. And then you can, you know, I found a issue the other day with a county on group enrollments, information that was being entered that it was not the right system to be entered, but we got it, you know, we're able to fix it before September. And, you know, and that way you can do those, you know, those quick reviews on a quarterly basis or however. Yep. Okay. And Sharon does it right after the event. Yes. It's nice to have that piece of paper to be able to, so you've got that. Just so everybody knows too, there is an app I know that it's available for the iPhones. I don't know about Android yet, but it's called oh crap, now I can't remember, of course. Demographica, I think is the name of it. Yeah. Demographica. And if it's actually really, it doesn't have all of our information that we need for 4-H Online, but what it does is it'll keep track of your ethnicity, your race, gender, and then I think that might be, I'm not sure if it has age. I don't think it has age, but it does have at least your race, your ethnicity, and your gender. And so I've used that in the past. It's a couple dollars maybe, you know, if you like that kind of a thing, but just so, you know, you've got that too, if you don't want to, if you just forget that piece of paper or whatever. That's always the ones I find that are hardest to keep track of.
Yeah, Carrie, I thought I was on the, I think I thought I had found it. I'm going to have to look and see why y'all don't have that archive option. If there's clubs in the interim that you need archived, and like we had mentioned, if there's something where the delivery mode is wrong, send an email to Carrie and I, and then we can do that at the state level. And because I'm not sure why the counties in Idaho are getting that. You know, you can either archive the club or save it, or. Well,
we found a lot of things that we're supposed to have access to and we didn't. So this might be another one.
Yeah. So, but in the interim, I'm going to have to look through on the admin side a little bit longer than what we have time for here today, and look at that. That's a great question. Thank you. But typically, if the functionality is on, all you would have to do to deactivate it is click Edit. And at the bottom where you see that start save, you would either have the option to deactivate or activate. And like I said, we're going to have to do a little investigative work there to see why that's not showing up. Yeah, I can show you. All right. So what I this is Idaho here, and I'm just gonna hop back to Demo County here. If it was working, you would go off of your dashboard, you go to the club's icon, we go to your, we're going to select your active club, just click edit, and what you should see when you scroll all the way to the bottom here is a save and an archive. Archive deactivates the club, and then once you do that, let's say, oh, I didn't want to do that, then you should be able to reactivate. So, excuse me, like I said, that's not showing up for you guys. Currently, what you have is got clubs, click edit, and just scroll down to the bottom, and all you get is the option to save. So like I said, I'm not 100% sure why that's doing that, but once we discover that and get that button basically to come up for y'all, then that'll probably make your lives a lot easier. Any other questions for the greater good?
So I have 3 questions that we're going to try to figure out the answers to. One, how do we change that delivery mode once a club is active? And then how do we deactivate a club? And then the other one that I just discovered the other day, and I don't think we have time today, Erica, but this might be another topic, is how do we add new, like if we do a volunteer training, how do we, because I know there's a place in here for training, but I couldn't figure out how to add a new training in. And so that might be, so I've got that in there.
Okay, yeah, that's a little bit of a lengthy process for what we've got left for today.
Yeah. So,
although there are a couple options with training, if they're actually going to do modules, or if it's going to be like web-based delivery, then you want to set up trainings in the trainings tab like we have it. If it's just making a connection on that leader record that they engaged in a face-to-face training, or if like they did first aid, CPR, quite honestly, the easiest way to do that is to create the activity, then however many folks engaged in that activity, you flag them and add them all to that activity. And that makes the connection into their record. I found that by having those trainings listed as trainings, everybody tries to get into them. And if we had set that up kind of just as a placeholder thing, and it isn't working that well for us in that regard. But the folks that are doing it as an activity have had a lot better, it's more of a manager function at that point, and that works out really well.
Okay.
And then it also provides the ability to make that connection to a training, regardless of what the topic is. It is a little bit more managed-based in that, they can designate what kind of training it was. They're going to have to manage, making that connection by flagging those participants and getting them in there. But it does cover the bases. Actually, you could do it as a group too, and vice versa. So, But we can definitely cover that on the next session.
Any other questions? I did put the support or the email address when you have questions that come up on 4-H Online. I put that in the chat box. Remember, it's support@nevada4h.zendesk.com.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody.
Yes, and everybody, just to let you know, today's Erica's birthday, so you all have to say happy birthday to her.
Aw. Thank you.
So, but yep, thank you guys, and I will get this recording. I'm going to transfer it right now, and I'll get it sent out by the end of the day today, because I know this was one of those things that is always helpful. So
thank you, everybody.
thanks, guys.